be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor. I will survive. I will survive. And I'm a firm believer. We'll forever shine just to stay alive. That simple means it. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can drain my energy. Nobody can hold me a stick. I will let alone negativity. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can drain my energy. Nobody can. Nobody can. Everybody show me some strength. No weakness. Show me a lion power. Strength. No weakness. Show them who we are. Strength. No weakness. Show me a lion power. Everybody strength. No weakness. Show them who we are. Not when you're your enemies, they must tremble. Your enemies, they must tremble. Yo, not when you're everything has to humble. Everything has to humble. I'm a go-getter. I just go hard. I just go hard. And I'm a kind of fella. Put my trust in God. Not when you're your enemies, they must tremble. Your enemies, they must tremble. Yo, not when you're
Welcome one and all. Welcome to Ridealong Live for today. It is Monday. Yeah, Monday on the ride. Hope you guys are doing well. Today actually seemed like Tuesday because yesterday I was live. I'm not usually live on a Sunday. Today feels like a little bit like Tuesday today. Nevertheless, guys, we have a very interesting program lined up for you. We're going to be talking about tourism. We have the Tourism Minister, Dr. Claris Modeste-Curwen. She's going to be joining us live and telling us all about the new protocols, all about and in fact, just late breaking news that just came in. We just found out about a possible outbreak on the Dali Sea and how that affects Grenada and Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We're going to speak a little bit about that. A lot of details also on the bubble, right? You know, the government has just removed the 2-day quarantine, and for over a year or so there were no cruise ship. Last week we saw a cruise ship. What does that mean? How is tourism rebounding after COVID-19? Now we finally start to see the backs of COVID-19. We're going to talk about that with the tourism minister. So you're coming, guys, go ahead and share the thing twice. Coming to you live from Studio B. No, the ride is not repossessed. It's parked out there. I just wanted to do this from here. I'm going to be actually doing a lot more program from Studio B, guys, because it's nice and warm in here and it's cold and dark outside. All right, so Rena, how you doing? Pick up yourself. Welcome to the ride. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Yeah, Akim. Yeah, man, Akim, come and give me a visit sometime in Studio B, man. You gotta check out the scene over here, right? Studio B is the real deal, by the way. How was your weekend, Nikki? How was your weekend? Let me share this. Let me share it. Yeah. Elizabeth, how you doing? Guys, share the program. As you share it, I wanted to say I share, right? As soon as you share it, I wanted to say I share. Lydia, thank you, Lydia. I appreciate you. Right? Share up. Jocelyn says she's watching. Good night, Jocelyn. Good night to you. Guys, share the program because I want to start with the minister. I mean, we try not to go much over time today, but there are a lot of questions as it relates to the protocol. And we want to dive deep into it, right? So forgive me if we go a little bit over time today. I know a lot of people say, well, Lord of mercy, folks in England, they want to go to sleep. So try as much as possible to maintain it in that time frame, okay? Original Courtney, big up yourself. Lynette Donovan, big up yourself. Everybody share. I share. I share. Share it and say I share, guys. Share it and say I share. I'm sharing it as well on my page. Share on my page. Rena, how you doing? Thank you, Rena. Share it in a group. Nice. Catty Cox. How you doing, Catty Cox? 2 more groups, guys. Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. You ready to go? All right, guys. So, as I was saying earlier, right before news time, we got information that just came in. Says that testing of Dalhousie passengers and contacts work. Carriacou, November 22nd. The COVID-19 response team for Carriacou and PT Martinique is advising persons who travel aboard the Dalhousie or interacted with any of its crew members within the past week to visit Hillsborough PT Martinique Health Center for a COVID-19 rapid antigen test. Person who traveled on the boat or interacted with the crew between Friday the 12th to September the 20th are asked to get tested as soon as possible. He went on to say that out of an abundance of caution, aggressive contact tracing is now on the way to determine the extent of the cluster. So quite possibly a cluster in Carriacou. And I looked at the Carriacou and PT Martinique. They have their own setup, right? So I was looking at it yesterday, and I saw that the numbers went up a little bit. There was 6 actors in Carriacou. So it's something to look at. So again, if you traveled from Carriacou and PT Martinique, if you traveled on the Dalhousie between November 12th to Saturday the 20th, you're asked to get a COVID test as soon as possible. And that just came in to the wire right here. So let's bring on my guest, the Minister of Tourism in Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, to learn all about the new protocol. Let me see if I could bring it in here, guys. New studio, a whole lot of buttons. Minister Dr. Claris Modeste-Curwen, you're muted. Just press the unmute button so we can hear you. Yeah, right. You hear me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Nice.
You hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Fine. How are you doing, Minister?
Pretty good. Everything considered.
Yeah.
I'm thankful. Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. We meet again.
It is, as the first time, it is a pleasure, and I hope this time would be even better.
Yes. We right before showtime, we got this press release that came in. What could you tell us about this new cluster on the Dalhousie?
Yes, well, over the weekend, I think it was yesterday, I heard about a few cases in Carriacou. As you are well aware that in our sister island, the numbers have stayed pretty low. And then I heard about this outbreak, and I think this morning I heard that there were about 9 cases. I heard you read the release that said 6. So it's somewhere between 6 and 9 at the moment. And I think that the release is very appropriate. This is a boat that usually plies the seas between Grenada and Carriacou, but it went to Trinidad a few days ago. And I don't want to lay blame on any country's doors because COVID is everywhere, but it may be possible that the infection was caught from there. But the reality is that even in our country, every once in a while, we still get the occasional case. So we cannot say that we're completely COVID-free. We have come a long way, but the science would tell us that every now and then we would expect to see a few cases. So at this point in time, it is not alarming, but as usual, the Ministry of Health has jumped on this case, and they are doing the usual contact tracing and testing, and we hope that it will just be a small cluster of the persons who already are infected, and perhaps just a few more, but we hope that it can be contained.
You mentioned that this boat plied the Trinidad route as well. What's the protocol in terms of ship leaving or entering Trinidad and entering Grenada borders? Was something not done in order to develop a cluster aboard that ship?
No, I'm not sure that this is a routine run to Trinidad, but it did go to Trinidad, and the general protocol is, because boats have been going back and forth to Trinidad in the past weeks and months, and the protocol is that they offload on the docks, they do not disembark, they take on whatever cargo that is destined for Grenada and Carriacou and Petit Martinique, of course, and they return. So I do not know if there was a breach in the protocol, because, as I said, boats have been going to Trinidad, and we have not had a case that seemed to be linked with Trinidad for a long time. So one cannot say, I cannot say at this time that whether they disembarked, whether they did not observe some of the protocols like the hand washing, the hand sanitizing, the mask and everything. But it is just a warning call for all of us to know that COVID is still in our island. It is still in all of the islands, and it is global. And therefore, we cannot let down our guards. We have to do what we have to do to keep ourselves, our families, our friends, our nation, and the world safe.
I know that there was a recent, not a press release, but there was a recent post-cabinet briefing where it was announced that everyone entering Grenada, non-nationals entering Grenada, have to be fully vaccinated. Does that also apply for persons traveling on board cruise ships or cargo
Yes.
ship?
On the cargo ships, the persons who come, who are on the cargo ships are supposed to be the persons who work on the cargo ships. That is why it's cargo, and it's not a passenger ship. So legally and in common practice, passengers are not allowed on the cargo ship. Whether they had or not, again, is an issue to be discussed and to be looked at. However, you asked the question, but as you may be aware, everyone who is non-Grenadian is required to come in to be fully vaccinated, and also to have a negative PCR test within 72 hours of coming into Grenada. The same thing obtains for the cruise ships. We have that agreement that everyone who disembarks from the cruise ship has to be fully vaccinated. And the agreement is that if we are asking for them to be fully vaccinated, then also the persons in which they can come in contact, the persons who serve them, then those persons too need to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah. You mentioned the cargo ship and supposed to be taking cargo, but it says here in the release that for persons who traveled on board the Dolly Sea or interacted with the crew members, so obviously it wasn't operating with cargo, because it's specifically asking persons who travel there to get a COVID test. Do we know how many people was on board that ship at the time?
So let me clarify. You are right in this context, because the Dolly Sea does carry passengers between Grenada and Carriacou. It carries both. But my understanding, and I could be corrected. I could be corrected that going into Trinidad, it was supposed to be just cargo on both sides, coming to and from. So that is the general understanding. but Dolly C does take passengers from mainland to Carriacou as well.
Yes. Again, I just want to get it clear. So the persons who interacted with anyone on board, the crew members on the Dolly Seed between November 12th and Saturday the 20th are asked to get tested because of a possible outbreak aboard the Dolly Sea at that particular time. So out of abundance of caution, they're asking everyone to get tested in that regard. So it
Yeah.
kind of brings us to the next portion of the conversation. So recently, the government removed the quarantine period for persons traveling into Grenada internationally. Is there a new science, right, that says people that has COVID-19, people who have the vaccine cannot spread it? What is the science between the removal of the quarantine period, the 2-day quarantine period?
Okay, I'll attempt to answer this one, but I usually leave it to the health people.
Right.
However, what we have seen in Grenada and what we have seen reported in other countries globally is that persons who take the vaccines, there is a far less incidence of COVID in these people. So it's much, much more difficult for them, for the COVID to attack them and infect their body. That is one.
But
And
but they could spread it, right?
yes, okay. So the next thing is, if it is more difficult for you to catch it, then obviously it is more difficult or less frequent for you to spread it. That just follows. The other thing is that it does, the disease is milder, much milder in persons who are vaccinated, because the reality shows that the disease can wreak havoc in persons, especially if they have underlying conditions like chronic diseases, diabetes, cancer, whatever. So if it's going to be mild on you, it wouldn't affect your organs as seriously. It's harder for you to catch it. It's harder for you to, and I'm just talking about the existing situation with the existing variants. Now we expect, as we have seen before, that there are new variants that certain vaccines may not in the future be able to protect the vaccinated person as much. But for now, it is holding on its own based on the science and the statistics that we see. So I trust the statistics and I believe that.
Right. Full disclosure, I'm vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated, and I encourage my family to get vaccinated as well. But based on the science, based on the information that I received from the CDC, I probably could pull up the website. It states that fully vaccinated person could indeed spread the virus as equally as an unvaccinated person. So I know that this is something that even in the US, all over, they're asking to be fully vaccinated. But if a fully vaccinated person could spread the virus just as equal as a non-vaccinated person, if they're coming in with and has COVID, they could spread it equally. So wouldn't it put us back in the same problem where a fully vaccinated person now could cause an outbreak, like kind of like what we see in here on the Dolly Sea? We don't know if the people that came on was vaccinated or not, but
some of them were. I'm not sure for all, but I heard about some of them who they were fully vaccinated. Yes. So again, it has to be a balancing act. As you are well aware, and we're all aware, that there are thousands, maybe around 5,000 persons who make their earnings directly or indirectly from the tourism industry. And for the better part of 2020 and the better part of 2021, we're in November, most of these people have not had jobs. Yes, many of them have been given the stimulus package. However, that is just a temporary situation, a temporary reprieve. People need to go back to work. Now, what do we do in this situation? Remember, we have two safeguards. One is that they must be fully vaccinated. The second one is that they must have a PCR, which is the gold standard internationally for testing. And therefore, we are counting on these two to give us a fair amount of safety and security. Not 100%, but the other option is it will impact on people's livelihoods in a significant way, because if you look at what the world is doing in terms of fully vaccinated persons, it is loosening up globally for persons who are fully vaccinated. And even in the region, you will see that most of the islands have given up the quarantine requirements. So it's a decision that government has to take. Do we just stay on lockdown, on quarantine? Do we restrict persons to long periods of quarantine? And the reality is that if persons remain are required to spend longer period in quarantine, and the other islands, Barbados, St. Lucia, the others are not doing that, then they will just go there. I think we have been very careful. We have been doing testing in Grenada. We started with a PCR test on arrival, sample taken in Grenada. We switched to a rapid antigen test, and now we're saying that that we're waiving the rapid antigen for those persons who are fully vaccinated. To me, it's an informed decision. You said that CDC's release said that persons who are fully vaccinated can transmit the disease equally as persons who are not vaccinated. I have not seen that one yet. I need to check it out. Everyone needs to learn. But This is the first time I'm hearing that. I know that persons who are vaccinated can catch it to a lesser extent and can transmit it. But equally, that one is new to me.
Okay. Guys, we're having this conversation here with Minister Claris Modeste-Curwen, the Minister of Tourism. And, this is an open conversation. So we're giving you guys an opportunity to call in and ask question on any one of the subject matter that affects you, whether you live in Grenada or outside. We're talking right now about the removal of the quarantine, the 2-day quarantine period. Someone just messaged me here, and when you mention about the removal, they say it seems to them as it's a decision based on economics. It's a more economical decision to remove it because, of course, we know that the tourism sector has been at a low for a minute, and people need to get back to work, as you rightfully said. So are we clarifying and saying that it was in fact an economical decision, more than a scientific decision based on the scientific fact?
It was a balance, because the data would show that persons coming in, when tested, there were very few, usually single-digit numbers over a period of time that tested positive after having done the PCR test for within 72 hours. And as has been said to us by the science, the virus can stay new and multiply up to 14 days. So are we going to have persons quarantined for 14 days in Grenada? So it's a balance in terms of the capacity to do that, and in terms of the statistics that show that very few people coming in test positive. Now, there are few who test positive. So it's a balance between science. It is not 100%. And as the people who know mathematics, they will talk about probabilities. But the probabilities of a significant load of persons coming in with the virus testing positive at any one time is small. And so we felt that this is perhaps one of the better times when we could take that chance to do that. So it was both economics, because you have to ensure that people do have jobs after 2 years of being unemployed. But it was also based on looking at the data over a number of weeks and seeing that very few tested positive, we thought it was a good time to do that.
And what is the contingency plan if we have another outbreak now, or from travelers who come in? What is the plan? What is the contingency plan in that regards? Because now we remove it, anyone could come in. It increases the probability, and we're talking math, so it increases probability of someone coming in and go straight through. I know of cases, and that happened because I travel a lot. You board the flight, and they check for your PC for your vaccine on the flight. Some flight attendants or some airline, they don't even bother to check properly. I've traveled a lot where situation where I have the thing in my hand and somebody might just look at it quickly and it go across. So there are so many ways that I see people not validate properly their information and their credentials. Right? So, hello? I think
yes,
my audio,
listening.
yeah, I think my audio just drop off. So I think my audio just drop off. Are you hearing me?
I am hearing you loud and clear.
So the question is, what is the contingency plans?
I lost you.
Yeah, okay. So I'm saying, what is the contingency plan? We now remove the 2-day quarantine. So there's no 2-day quarantine anymore. Is there a backup plan? Is there a plan that would say this is what would happen in the instant if there were to be another outbreak or a possible outbreak? How is that being worked out? How is that being figured out at the time?
Okay, so the health team have been reviewing the situation, and one of their mandates is to look at where there were shortcomings and to improve on that. And they have been working on a plan, and in terms of how they would approach it, there have been structures that have been put in place that will continue. So, for example, the pop-up clinics, which started when we had the spike end of August, perhaps mid-August, going into end of August. These will continue. Example is that in St. John, there is a polyclinic that has been set up to serve St. John, St. Mark. That polyclinic has been converted for the time being into a COVID clinic, which primarily does testing, does vaccination on 3 days a week, dedicated to that. So we continue to do routine testing and to offer it on weekends, 7 days a week. In any day of the week, there is somewhere on island where vaccines and testing are being offered. So that is one of the things that it will not continue in the intensity as when we had the spike, but we will be continuing to offer persons. One of the things that is going to be strengthened, of course, is the education of persons, because we still need, even as persons teams were going out, people were asking questions because they were uncertain about certain things. And I think people need to make informed decision. So the health team, they are taking this downtime now to plan strategically better, working with the police force and others to be more vigilant. And that is where we are.
So increased vigilance, increased surveillance, now that the 2-day quarantine has been removed. What about the tourism bubble? Talk to us about the tourism bubble. So say I came into a ship came in, or people came into Grenada. I've heard they mention about the bubble. How is the bubble working, or how is it structured?
Okay, so the bubble is a structure that is meant to minimize risk from both sides, risk from persons coming in to the island, primarily from cruise, but the bubble also, once established, can work for hotel guests as well. And the visitors, there are designated areas, attraction sites that would have been investigated, would have been checked out by the team from the Grenada Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Health also. They check to see that they're fully vaccinated, that they understand the protocols, that everything that they're supposed to have, sanitizing, masks, everything, all of those things are in place. And so the guests are taken to those sites that have been certified as having all of the factors, all of the wherewithal to be part of the bubble. There are tour operators who will pick up the guests at designated areas in the cruise ship terminal. Normally, guests or visitors would just come and walk off and go into Market Square and roam all about. But because of the incidents globally of COVID still, we're working with the bubble, and this is what we have agreed with the cruise ships, that the tour operators would pick up the guests as they come off the ship, go into a designated area. They will be taken on a tour, maybe go to more than one attraction site, but all of this will have to be checked out first. So we have a number of sites that have been vetted, that have been approved, and we continue to vet more attraction sites because some of the cruise ships are large and they come in with thousands of persons. And so we don't want overcrowding in any one area. And so we have to have enough places where persons can go so that you maximize the social distancing and you minimize the contact as far as possible. And persons are encouraged to work in groups. So like if it's a family or so, or a group of persons who travel together, they are encouraged to stay together and to be separate from others. It's not an easy task, but we believe that with good vigilance, we can make it work. Doesn't mean that something cannot go wrong, but it is a good time and a good risk to take at this time, because everything you do is going to have an element of risk with it.
And what are the requirements for a particular site to be placed within that bubble?
The requirements would be that all of the staff would have to be fully vaccinated, and they would have to have all of the wherewithal so that they have the hand sanitizers, they have sinks, they have soap that can be washed. They have persons who can just monitor the situation and the behavior of the guests. And I must add that in those attraction sites, while usually it's the tourists who use it, but anyone who is vaccinated can do a tour. You can do a tour of Ridealong if you wanted to, and I hope you do come when you visit when you come to Grenada. But that is the situation for now.
Yeah, someone just mentioned in a text I received that they learned that a number of the hotspots where tourists and people would have want to go and good sites in Grenada, most of them have not are not on that list. Could you confirm or deny if they are the major hotspot areas are within that bubble, or they're just a few of them that is currently listed on the tourism site bubble?
To me, some of the most desired frequent areas are on the bubble. So for example, what the tour operators did prioritize a list. So they would have prioritized Annandale Falls, they would have prioritized Ridealong, Fort Frederick, and places like Belmont Estate and so on. There are a number of them on the list. There are still a number of them that are being assisted to get all of the protocols, all of the necessaries in place so that they can be approved. And so gradually, so for example, we have the Grand Anse Craft Market, and the smaller taxis had a concern that they were not getting any tours, and the Grandans Craft Market vendors also had some concerns. We met with them. We looked at some protocols. We established those protocols. And anytime soon, that tour will happen that will favor the Grandans Craft Market vendors and the taxis who didn't have, prior to that, any organized tours going with them. So as part of the bubble, this has benefited them. And the next step we're looking for at Grandans is just before the beach part, just before the Grandans Craft Market, to also have persons visit. Persons who visit would be able to use the beach for that. That one is a little bit more difficult to monitor and to manage, but we're working on that. The craft market is a little bit more structured and can allow persons to go in and out in an organized manner. But we're also looking at that because so far there have been complaints from the visitors that one of the most lauded beaches in the world, that they cannot have access to it. But we're looking at how we can balance it, because we know our Grenadians love their Grandlands Beach and they'd like to be able to go at any time. So we're seeing how it could work that a visitor in a bubble can stay in one area and our Grenadian people can still use the beach as they want to.
Hold on. So you're setting up an arrangement where one portion of the beach would be decked off specifically for visitors? Is that what?
Well, you see, we have a better control, or I expect we'll have a better control on the visitors, so that we could demarcate an area where they usually have beach chairs. They have persons who rent out beach chairs to visitors and to locals too. But a lot of them make their living by renting out the beach chairs to the cruise ship persons in large groups. So we're looking at those who go to the Grandlands Craft Market should be able to use that section in front there on their beach chairs, where they will be kept in that area. But of course, our locals can roam the beach as they should. So we think we can have better control on the visitors, because there's an understanding that there are certain protocols that they have to follow and stay within the bubble.
I'm just going to add value. I'm just going to add value to visitors. One, they come out of that cruise, the cruise ship. They walk into the mall. They see something that they like, they want to purchase. They can't freely go and get it. Correct? Could they go and
in
purchase?
which mall?
Okay, so they come out of the cruise ship.
That is the mall from the cruise ship.
Yeah, the cruise ship terminal. They walk down that path right there, vendors selling all this stuff, and they see something that they like in that store right there. Could they just go in there and purchase that item?
Well, initially when we started, and we're taking these things in steps and stages because we want to keep it as safe as possible. We know it may not be 100% safe, but so we started first with them being picked up and taken directly to the whatever the attraction sites are. Now we're working on that same area that you're talking about, where the duty free and other things are that the tourists used to walk through. We are working on that. GTA is working with the management so that part of the tour can be that as well, whether it's just within that section of the mall where the duty-free section is, because that mall has a number of sections, a number of stores and other things in other areas, but there's one particular area that coming off the cruise ship, you can stay inside and walk through the mall and purchase, because it is important to us, that extremely important, that the persons who do disembark are able to purchase something and take back with them, so that not only do they take away an experience in Grenada, but they also leave some money so that our persons can make a living. So this, by the next week or so, you should be hearing something on that part of the mall as well.
Right. And the other thing is, so they come up from there. What about the vendors that's at the front? What's the compliance? Right in front of the mall, there are vendors who sell items there as well. Are
When
there
we do
parts?
that, we'll be working on that front part, on that sort of corridor where you have stores on both sides. Many of them sell crafts and other things that tourists may want. And we also looking at there are few sort of kiosks, sort of huts to the front. We are working on how we get those involved as well. But it takes some logistics, as you can well imagine. How do we work within the bubble and still engage everybody? So it's a progressive thing. And every week, I trust that we can add one more or one or two more attraction sites or places where persons can purchase to make it a business venture rather than just a sightseeing venture.
Right. And so that process is done. And then now, who takes them to the sites? Because I've heard from the last cruise ship that came in there, I heard that the taxi or the bus operators or the local bus operators who would, make a little something during that period of time, there was actually X'd out of it. In fact, some big buses came and took the tourists, and the small bus drivers got absolutely nothing.
Let me just explain a structure to you so that you can understand. There are some tour operators that are registered with the cruise ships. They meet with them then when there are cruise meetings, they know each other, they offer them tours, and they sell tours to the cruise ships before the cruise ship leaves or sails from wherever it originates, as well as while the cruise ship is on the sea coming into Grenada. The first trial was with these tour operators. They are the bigger ones. The first trial was with these tour operators to see how things were going. And then when it seemed to have worked fairly well, not perfect, but fairly well, then we had started engagement with the regular taxis. There's a National Taxi Association. We engage them. And so that they used to operate, although they are in an association, but each taxi would go, it's pretty much its own way. Now, they have seen the benefit of organizing a tour. So there's nothing wrong with 3, 4, 5 taxis going on one tour to the Granans Craft Market, another one going on a tour that takes you to Annandale and Granny Tang and so on, but in a more structured way so that they can offer their own bubble. So this is what they have. And during this week, we will see that being implemented, and it would include the vendors at the Grandon's Craft Market. And within the next week, next few days, we expect to see things happening for the same vendors that you mentioned who are inside of the mall, in that corridor, and those who are in the front. So we have not rushed it. In terms of manpower, we still need to be able to monitor and to see how things are going, to see whether there's compliance, to see what we can do. We even have to monitor the tour operators, the taxis. Do they sanitize? What do they do? Are they wearing masks? We have an agreement with the cruise ships that they should, while they're on the bus, they should be wearing their mask. So this has to be monitored. And therefore, we have to open it up progressively, so that as we see the results, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, we can adjust accordingly to keep it as safe as possible.
Right. So I understand that, and I think most of our viewers understand that. But here is the confusing part, Minister. Help me clarify this.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all these restrictions on folks traveling on cruise ships. They can't purchase at any particular spot. There are protocols in which they have to do, however, I know that right now, to leave from a cruise ship in the US, you have to be fully vaccinated. So you're fully vaccinated, you have your PCR up to date. That's how you get on the cruise. But at the same time, we have protocols, all these protocols on cruise ship passengers, but someone traveling on a plane could get on a plane with a negative PCR test and do whatever to do. So help me understand the logistics of it. because it's the same people that's vaccinated. The only difference is one coming in a plane and one coming in a boat.
I lost you again.
Yeah, all right. So let me see if I could. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, hence the reason why it's a little bit confusing. So you could probably add some clarity to it for me.
Okay, there are a few differences.
Right.
For example, the length of time that persons are on the cruise ship. Um, there is more time for persons to interact and for transference of the disease. It's days, it's not just hours. That's one. The numbers of persons who are on the cruise ship, they are in thousands. It's the flights that come in, they're in hundreds, 100 and something, 200 people. The number, so the possibility of infection is much greater on the cruise ship than it is on the on the for the on the stayover passengers also come by plane. So there are some differences. There is an imbalance. How do we balance it? How do we balance it? The cruise ships do have the protocols and they get the guidelines from CDC. And I'll tell you, for months, when the cruise ships were planning to start, they could not start because the CDC insisted that it was not time yet and they could not. So the guidelines that they put forward are given to them by the CDC. Then their medical team have discussion with our medical team in Grenada, and they come to some agreement as to how it should be. It is my hope that in the soon, um, COVID will get to the point where we will treat it, or we can treat it as the outbreaks of flu that we get every year and so on. But as you can well appreciate, it is still a learning game. COVID can come with some surprises, and we have been cautious thus far, and we would like to keep it so, but we would like to open up. So we're looking at the data, the statistics, we're looking at the flow, and every week I can guarantee you that more people would become involved, and more of the players becoming involved then to earn a living from cruise.
I totally understand that. And I empathize with the people that I get calls every day from, the people who said that, they have been working for so long. They're in the tourism industry, the taxi drivers, the buses, people who in that trade, they went through a lot, over a year of almost no income. So it's good that we could start sparking some movement in the industry. So I'm all for that. But that piece of it just still confusing me, because I think if COVID-19 travel by plane or by boat, COVID-19 still travel. And I think it's even someone coming in on a plane and giving them ample access and removing the quarantine. I have no problem with the quarantine. In fact, I travel a lot. I've been in quarantine for 2 days. I've been in quarantine for 7 days. I've been there. I've been there all. But I just hoping that they're taking a serious look at that decision, not only based on economics versus the science of it, right?
Don't
Because
forget the data too, and
and,
maybe
and
something
the
that
data,
you can get from Ministry of Health. The
right,
data too is there, so there's some science in it as well.
right. But that is the contradicting and confusing part, where the people that coming in by plane, they could do whatever they want, but however, the people that's coming in by boat have so much different points that they cannot access. Someone sent me a voice note. I want to play it. Let's listen to this voice note.
Hi, Junior. Good night. I want you as the Minister of Tourism, right? If they knew that they had a problem with the unvaccinated vendors and they were only providing for the vaccinated, why did they renew our license? Why did they do it? I want to know that. Because I know for sure we are not breaking any law. And what they're throwing at us, it's not in the Constitution. We are having our own business, we turning our key. Whenever we have to operate, we always renew our license every single year. So if they know that they had that, why did they renew our license last week?
All right. That's from a viewer.
Okay, a very pertinent question. Um, these conversations about fully vaccinated have been going for a long while. And the caller is right. By not being fully vaccinated, you may not be breaking any law. Government has not mandated. But remember, there's also a Public Health Act that gives the Ministry of Health certain powers to act where there is risk to the lives of others. And that is there. So I am not here to argue the law. The government has not mandated that everybody must be vaccinated. We advise it. I advise it. I took it. But of course, I respect people's rights to do what they think is best for them. But if you have an agreement, you have a pact, we can either go along with what they're saying or with what we have agreed on, or we can not accept them into our country. Sometimes, unfortunately, this is what it boils down to. And I do not think that the caller's money should have been taken since we have not resolved all of these issues. Maybe this question wasn't asked of the caller. I do not know. But if it was not asked, it should have been asked, because at this point in time, within the bubble, it's only the vaccinated vendors that have been included. I hope that at some point in time, it will be open for everyone who, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated. But the point is, we still have COVID, and we still have to observe certain things, and we still have to do what is necessary to protect ourselves and everyone else.
Okay, that's for the
So
caller.
I will follow up on this issue, because I think the caller is right. It should not have been done.
Yeah. Someone typed in a question here for me. I want to throw it out at you. They're saying, is tourism or is the government looking to change the term fully vaccinated to now mean 3 shots? Since after a period of time, after a period of months, the vaccine is not as effective within the first 6 to 8 months or what have you. Is it soon going to be changed to fully vaccinated, meaning the 3 doses of the vaccines?
So you were talking there about the booster.
Yes.
This is being discussed, the booster, making it available for persons. Whether the term fully vaccinated will apply to persons, to only persons who have the third vaccine or the booster, that has not been decided on by the Ministry of Health. But I know that it is being made available. Boosters are being made available to persons who want to have that.
Right. So is no talks to change that protocol anytime soon? So if
Well, it
someone,
hasn't been discussed to make it mandatory. No, not at all. Just
oh,
offering it to persons, recognizing what you said about the 6 months, 8 months when the antibodies get less.
right. Yeah. Again, guys, we want you guys to participate in this discussion here. We have the tourism minister. We don't have it every time. So this is your opportunity right now. I know we've been very concerned about traveling back and some of the protocols and how the protocols would affect you. So I want you guys to call in. The number on the screen, 718-701-5720. That's 718-701-5720. You could send us a WhatsApp message, or you could call via WhatsApp as well. Again, the number on the screen, 718-701-5720. All right. While we wait on the call, I want to now I want to go back on something that was said earlier as it relates to the beach access and to the areas where the tourists would be on the particular areas of the beach. So after they would have left that area, leave that beach area, how would those areas be treated or sanitized, or is that a mandate to ensure? And what if a local wanted to access that area where foreigners are? Would they be prevented from mingling or being a part of that group?
Um, at this point in time, what I can say to you, and this is all being done to loosen up a bit for the tourists, to give them some options, because of course they have choices, and we have to give them enough options so that it makes it worthwhile for visitors to come to our shore. As you know, Grandance is world famous, and persons come just to go on Grandance Beach. What we are looking at, and that has not been finalized, what we are looking at is that area just in front of the vendors market, that when you take tourists to the vendors market where they can purchase and put some dollars into the vendors' hands, that if they do want to use a beach chair or go in the water, that they can do that. They would be kept, as I said, in one space, and that is what we're visualizing. And we do not feel that we can tell Grenadians, don't go to that side where the tourists are. What we believe is that, based on the agreement for the bubble, we have a better control of the tourists. So we say, look, stay within that space. Maybe you leave some spaces behind so that persons can pass. Certainly you leave space in front so that persons can pass, and that tourists can leave the beach chairs and go into the water and have a swim. Now, all of the persons who are offering beach chairs, they have been trained in sanitizing. They have been explained to as to what sanitizers can be used to sanitize. I don't know, I haven't heard of any sanitizer that can sanitize the sand nor the beach. What we have focused on is sanitizing the beach chairs after everybody.
There are areas, there are areas that would be touch areas, touch spots.
Yes, oh sure. Certainly the touch spots would be primarily the beach chairs and the Grand and Craft Market. So the persons have been retrained and retrained in terms of using the hand sanitizers, use them as we've had meetings with them, I've had meetings with them, and they are all committed to following the protocols in terms of social distancing and wearing masks and all of these things. And they know, everybody knows now what hand sanitizers to use, what spray to use, how to sanitize the hands of your guests who come in, because there is somebody at the entrance who is supposed to sanitize those people as well. So wherever there are weaknesses, we are strengthening it, but it is a work in progress.
All right, let's jump on a call. We got a live call coming in. Caller, you live. Where you calling us from?
Hi, Junior. Good night. Grenada.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, Junior, I'm one of the vendors in the Spice and Craft Market. Junior, and it's so sad to see exactly what is going on. Junior, we went and renewed our license, right? When we went there, the first thing that the people said to us, GTA, are you fully vaccinated? We said to them, no. They turned and said to us, okay then, there is a form we're going to give you all to fill up. You fill it up, you pay the money that we normally just to renew our license. They said to us that there is a new thing they put it in blue anyway, stating that we have to follow the protocol, where that we have to make sure that we hand sanitize, we have to make sure that we mask up, we stay 6 feet. There is nothing on this paper that we sign stating that you have to be fully vaccinated. So if these people knew, because they must know before, that we have to fully vaccinate, why did they tell us it's okay to get our license renewed? That's not making no sense, right? They came today, drop on a paper, how disrespectful they are. without even being signed, any signature put on it, more than stating that only fully vaccinated people are allowed to come tomorrow, please the Lord. We are paying rent just how am I survive? Because you think about the vaccinated and you forget about the unvaccinated. We have family to take care of. Right? I had a conversation with a tourist today, where she was so mad. She's in one of the hotel. She was so mad that when she entered to come in, they said to her, "We need to see your vaccinated card." Right? She turned and she said, "Why are they doing that? Grenada is such a beautiful country." She said, where she come from, they're putting pressure on them. But she didn't expect they to do that in Grenada, to put pressure on them, and she went out mad.
Right. Right. So this
not adding up.
The minister had, I know she had answered that question in the voice note that was sent in regards to that, and it shouldn't happen. I think that you should follow up on it. Minister, what action could she take at this point to ensure that she gets some kind of recourse for what was done in terms of the payments and stuff that was made?
Yes, I fully agree.
Listen to the live. Listen to the live. She's going to respond, right? Because you're on WhatsApp. Right, go right ahead.
No, I'm saying, as I said before, I fully agree. Where there was some measure of uncertainty as to what should be done, or where there was an understanding that this is the agreement that we have with the cruise ship, that it was only for fully vaccinated, then the vendors are not prevented from vending at other times. But I still think that because they would have less access, that is a matter that should have been discussed and be properly addressed with the vendors. I had a very long meeting with the vendors, and there were subsequent meetings, and the understanding is that most of the vendors are vaccinated. What happens to the other vendors, I cannot say that that vendors should not vend, and I would not say that at other times. But if we have created a bubble with the cruise ships, and that is the understanding that they bring in only fully vaccinated persons, and they will be treated by fully vaccinated persons, then the only choice we have is either you don't bring them in, you don't take them there, or the majority in that market, they are fully vaccinated. Give them a chance for that time, because it's a choice. It's a choice. That is what has to be done. And some of the fully vaccinated persons are asking the question, why are we being punished? Why are we still not having visitors? Why are we still not having cruise visitors when we went ahead and took the vaccine? So as I said, it's a balancing act. It takes time. There has to be dialogue. I empathize with these people, and we have made a lot of efforts to ensure that it is not just one or two operators, but that everybody is in the mix for making a living. But at this point in time, the agreement is fully vaccinated for fully vaccinated. And unless that changes, then we have to commit to doing just that. And I went there at the craft market and I explained all of those things to them. I do not know if this dear lady was there, but I understand her position. I empathize. Everybody's out of a dollar, but this is the agreement for the time, and we have to keep our side of it.
Yeah. All right. It's sad though. I wanna move in gears a little bit. We are at that time, but there are just a few more questions that we want to touch on. We saw a release came out last week, and I'm going to read the release. And I put it on my page, and a lot of people, it was like they thought it was Comedy Central. The protocol says picking up fully vaccinated passengers. As a result of the recent change in the COVID-19 protocol, which indicated that fully vaccinated passengers will not be required to quarantine on arrival, the Grenada Airport Authority wishes to advise the general public of the following taking effect immediately. Only fully vaccinated persons will be allowed to pick up fully vaccinated arriving passengers at the airport. Proof of vaccination will be required from persons entering the arrival lane to transport passengers. We thank you for your cooperation. Explain the science and the logics between fully vaccinated persons coming to pick up or even enter the airport area to pick up passengers, their family, their friends, their sister, their brother. Explain the logics behind this one.
Okay. What I can say is, let's go back to what I know. You said CDC said differently, and it may very well be so. It may very well be so that persons vaccinated and persons unvaccinated transmit the disease at the same rate. I do not have any information to this. I have information to the contrary, but opinions and rulings change. It's a fluid situation, so Ridealong, you might be more on top of it than I am. But from where I sit now, if we're saying that persons vaccinated have a better chance of not getting the disease, they have a better chance of not transmitting it, they have a better chance, if they do get it, have a milder thing, then shouldn't we act on that? If we believe it, shouldn't we say that persons who are vaccinated should have a little bit more freedom because there is less possibility just because of that, just for safety? And so what we're saying is that the persons, if persons who pick up fully vaccinated persons pick up fully vaccinated persons, then there's a less chance of spread. Those who coming in, they will be more resistant, and those who come in to pick them up will be more resistant. And that is what I have learned from the science. I may have learned it wrong. Forgive me if I have, but that is my understanding. That
right. Okay. Let's just look it for what it is, right? So the person traveling from the US or Canada comes in, and they're prevented, the cousin or the whatever family member prevented from picking them up. But at the same time, they go into the same exact household, right? So how is that preventing anything? When you come to pick up someone, you pick them up, they get into your car, you drive them off. It's not an occasion where it's a gathering or a get-together. It's just a pick-up person and take them to your home. So I don't see how it makes sense in having that protocol if they are going to the same exact household. So that is the fulfilling part of it for me, if you understand me.
I understand where you're coming from, and you do have a point. You do have a point there. But as I said, I believe that the discussions were based on that. The discussions were based on that understanding of persons who are fully vaccinated. They do have less opportunities to get the disease, or less propensity to get it. No, I want to say something also. Our government, the government has not mandated to say you must take the vaccine. Some countries have done that, and they have done all sorts of things to enforce. We have tried to use moral persuasion based on the belief and the understanding that it will make people safer. You would see that a number of countries, they have a mark, about 80% of the persons. When they have about 80% of the persons who are fully vaccinated, then they can do more. They can open up, they can remove quarantine, they can do certain things. Even in the United States and several other countries, even when the cases are rising, they put store in the fact that they have a high level of vaccination rate. And there's a lot of confidence in that. So that for me, usually is guided by whether it's CDC in the US, CDC in Europe, and other places. This is the information. And so I believe that too. I believe that too. And we are trying to give persons who are fully vaccinated a little bit of slack. But that is what it is. And you may be right in your point. They're going to the same house, but sometimes they're not going to the same house. A friend can pick up someone and take them to somewhere else too. So there's a mix. Let us be honest, there's a mix. It's not everybody who picks up somebody at the airport is taking them to the same home. And as I said, it's a balancing act.
Yeah,
It's not a perfect science.
Yeah,
and sometimes you try these things to encourage the persons who have ventured like you have to take the shot, and that is what it is.
Right. Now, I understand. I mean, as I said from the start, I encourage my family members to take the vaccine. I took the vaccine, and heck, I might even take the booster, although, people are advising me against it. But I had COVID-19 as well, and this is not something that I would ever want to go through again. But there are people, Minister, people in the community, friends of yours, family of yours, friends and family of mine. It's not that they don't want to take the vaccine, is that there are so many factors that is not medically cleared, that is not religiously cleared. They live their entire life being someone that don't take any antibodies into their system. That's how they live. That's how they believe. And now they're being restricted from doing all these common things because they decide not to take the vaccine, just to coexist within the community. They can't even go pick up their family member if they come on the airport, and all these things. So it's not a matter of pointing fingers of who spread the vaccine faster or who knows spread it faster. It's about separating people, because now a lot of people now are saying they're creating this warfare or this fight or this animosity between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And that is where I see a potential problem here. And it's not only in Grenada, in the US and other big countries as well. So that is one of the moral high ground I disagree with, in separating these people on the grounds of the personal decision to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. And it's probably not a question for you specifically, because you're not the Minister of Health, and you're not the minister, you're not the leader of the WHO who make these mandates, or the CDC. So I understand, but for a lot of people, it's just unfair to them that they have to live like this, and their hands are tied. It's either they take it or they live in a bubble by themselves. They can't eat out and go to a restaurant. They can't pick up the member at the airport. And it's getting worse, right? So that is the unfair part of it, which I think. I mean, I'm sure you may agree that it's not very fair what's happening.
I lost you again.
Okay, all right. It was that question. It was most of a statement.
Okay, so
right.
All right. The issue of fairness. We're in a difficult time, and if we don't recognize that, I don't know when we will. It is a difficult time. It is. People have gotten very ill. People have died, and just a few months ago, we were in a situation that became very frightening for all of us, and we made headlines. Our infection rate was climbing. Our death rate was higher than most other countries at the time per capita, per 100,000, however you call it. And a lot of work was done. And I want to beg your indulgence here, just to compliment a number of players who came into it. So, for example, the health people first, from the ministers to the chief medical officers, all nurses, everybody, the police, all of the frontline workers who came out unselfishly. A lot of volunteers, a lot of Grenadians in the diaspora who sent supplies within short time, and even Friends of Grenada, individuals, as well as institutions, as well as countries, we were given support. And within short time, we were able to bring it down. But at a cost to human resource. Some nurses got it, some police got it in the line of duty. Some got ill. I think we lost one or two. And it was a tough time. Now, after coming out from that and after seeing what happens to others, do we just say that everybody can just do what they want, forget the protocol, just pick up who you want? It is a tough decision to make. And I clearly understand where others are coming from, what others are saying, because some persons have concern about their health. Some persons have concern, religious concern. And I'm not here to attack or to blame anyone, but it is a balancing act. How do you keep people safe, and how do you keep people earning a living? And therefore, we're doing this thing gradually. Obviously, there were some problems with the collection of the monies. We have to look into that, and I want to commit to doing that. But at the same time, if you do a business and persons come and they say, this is how I would like to get my service or work with you, you can either take it or you can leave it. And this is the situation where we find ourselves at this time. We're working on it. I have had meetings with almost all of the different sectors, the water taxis, the taxi association, vendors, wherever they came from. We couldn't meet with all. We've had physical meetings. We have had virtual meetings, and we're going to continue to do that to look for a solution that will work for everyone. But at this time, it is a bit difficult.
Right, we understand that. And I also must say that for all the frontline workers and the people, everyone who went through this biblical hell, as they put it, in this past few months, where over 200 of our friends and family members died. It is sad. And for the nurses, for the doctors, and everyone, we feel that emptiness, especially coming around Christmas, is going to hit even more harder because it's Christmas. You're going to miss that person even more. And we feel it for you. So we don't want to see another second wave where, let's face it, all the other countries have second and third wave. Hopefully, if we could prevent that.
Second and third and fourth.
Second and third and fourth, right? So in the interest of protection, hence the reason why we're getting so much when there is the lift in the quarantine, everybody like, what? So I know we got to move forward. I know we got to protect life and livelihood, but is it time? Are we ready? What other precautionary measures are we doing? Then we have. I was happy to see that there was a big cruise ship that came in sometime last week, and it was great.
About 900 people disembarking.
Yes, and
we learned from that. We learned from that so that we could now talk to the other taxi association and the other vendors. But we do have to do it gradually. And remember, you asked me a question. What are the measures we are going to put in place? And this is the bubble is one of the measures to protect people. It might seem onerous to the vendors. And I agree, we have to work together, and I am prepared to work with them to resolve those issues. But if you have a bubble, and that is the agreement, then if you go outside of it, then you burst the bubble. So,
right.
So we just have to keep working, and we're meeting with them. And I'm sorry monies were taken from them without the understanding as to what would obtain, especially on the days of the cruise ships. On the other days, there is no issue. They can go there. They have not been debarred, as far as I know, because that was not mandated to be done. But we have to continue to work with them so that by Christmas, because we do have quite a lot of cruise ships coming in December, in January, in February, in March, and in April.
Right. We want to know about the calls. I heard that they said that there's a couple hundred calls within this period. Is it on par with what we saw a few years ago, 2019, or how much percent more?
It is a little bit less, but we are expecting, we have confirmation on maybe about 212 calls. Prior to COVID, we've had about 250 calls. So when you consider that just before the cruise ship season started, we had a serious spike, and in discussing with the cruise lines, we just could not guarantee them that we would start the season. And some of them were beginning to turn away. And we tried to move quickly, to move with our partners to salvage the situation. I think we haven't done too badly with over 200 calls, significant calls, as I mentioned before, December, January, February, March, April, and at least one in May. And usually you don't get calls in May, but we have a significant size cruise ship coming in May. I think we've done well. And if we continue the dialogue with our partners, our stakeholders, because our tourism industry cannot do without our vendors, our taxi drivers, and the tour operators. If we continue, we could find a solution in quick time that would allow persons to make a living out of tourism.
Right. And two last questions really quickly. Someone named Sandra Belma John, she said, I just sent 2 commercial bin with hand sanitizers and masks for the village of George Grove. Do I have to pay to clear it? I paid $320 to ship them out.
There's a procedure. Once you can demonstrate that the supplies are being brought in for, public good, public use, the fees, the normal fees, can be waived. At least most of them. There might be some small fees that have to be paid for processing or whatever, but the fees have been waived in the past, and I want to commend that person for assisting, just as a number of other Grenadians have done in the past, long time, and very much more in the recent months that went.
Yeah. But Minister, listen, it's always a pleasure having you with you on the program. I often say, I get a chance to see you on the press conference. I say, you got to come back again. We always have a good time talking, and you speak very well, and you're a people's person. But so this is my next and final question to you. Any aspiration to lead or be in a position of leadership in the NNP? When we're talking about succession plan, and Dr. Kit Mitchell saying that might be his final election, are you in a position to move up the rank and possibly be at the helm of the political party if your name is called?
That one will take a lot of thinking, I must say, and people who know me, they know that I am a servant of the people, and that is my pride and joy. I am not saying this as a boast. I'm saying this as a fact. When COVID started to spike, I went out every weekend, and with a team of persons, we offered testings, we offered vaccinations, we teamed up with one missionary person who came in with the vitamin C and the COVID, vitamin C and the zinc, and we gave it to people. We gave out masks. We did what we could, and that is my vocation in life, to serve. I'm happy there, and that is where I like being. So I will just say that for now. Of course, we are looking at succession planning. We do have to look at that, and when the right times come, the right people will fall into place. But I am a servant of the people regardless.
Right. Some people might say the right time is now.
They might say that.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for chatting with us, guys. Thanks for contributing. Any last word before we wrap up?
Well, just to say that I did see some of the comments made by some of your listeners. I heard some of the comments. I am going to that lady. I hope she can contact me personally and we can talk about the situation, because there are others like her whose monies may have been taken. We'll see how we can address the situation. But I just want to thank everybody for the comments. I realize this is a difficult, trying time. It's new for all of us, and all of us may have our own opinions, but in the final analysis, we're human beings, and we need to do what we need to save human lives and to keep our countries going. And thanks to all of those who sent donations and gave us the wherewithal so that we can go out in the communities and really work with them to make that difference and to take us to that point where we could be talking about cruise ships. We've come a long way. We've gotten tremendous support from the Ministry of Health and the government, and we will continue to do what we have to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. We'll keep in touch. As always.
God bless everyone.
All right. Hey guys, so that was the Minister Claris Modeste-Curwen chatting with us here on protocols going forward and a bit about the new protocols on the cruise ships arrival and the protocols for the ships. The question that was posted from the young lady as it relates to her refund of her monies, I just messaged her, Sandra, I don't know if her name is Sandra, Charmaine, I believe. Charmaine, contact the ministry and let us know how far you got with that, if you were refunded the money. Just keep us up to date where that goes, all right? Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of our program today. This has been a conversation from Studio B with the Minister of Tourism. And listen, we ain't abandon the ride. We're going to be back in the ride tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow we have a very interesting program lined up for you, by the way. And this one is kind of mind-blowing, right? Our next guest tomorrow is going to be in the ride, and she is a sex worker, right? But she's also disabled is not the correct term to use. She's paralyzed, and she's here to share her story, how she make it as a sex worker in a wheelchair. Yeah, she's gonna explain that to us. Anyway, that's nice. Thanks to you. Thanks for watching Sponsors. Big up to CBX NYC, Best Flyer Design. If you're looking to get a flyer design and print, contact CBX NYC to get that done. Give them a call right now. The number is 347-744-5546. That's 347-744-5546. Remember, if you're looking for flyer design, professional flyer design, contact CBX. Quick turnover, right? Give them a call right now. Tell them you get this number from Ridealong Live, and they have discount for first-time customers as well. Call them up at 347-744-5546. It's CX Flyer Design and Printing. Again, guys, check me tomorrow. This has been another edition of Ridealong Live. Peace out. Don't forget, guys, before you leave, I want you to click on that YouTube link and subscribe on YouTube. All right, subscribe to us on YouTube. And also, when you get over there, hit that notification bell. So whenever we go live on YouTube, we should post videos on YouTube regularly. Right? Click it. When we go live, you'll get notification on that. Good night. Catch you guys again tomorrow. Ridealong Live.
Yeah. You gotta be firm in this time, son. You gotta be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor. I will survive, and I'm a firm believer. We'll forever shine.
Feeling hungry, grab a snack. Caribbean food delight. Jamaican patties, light and flaky. Caribbean food delight. Taste the difference. Caribbean food delight. Grab a patty, take a bite.
Welcome to TD Bank, where you'll find the personalized attention you deserve and the legendary experience you expect. Let's do business. If you are a medical or dental practitioner, contact me to hear about our tailored lending solutions for residential mortgages, equipment purchases, practice-related commercial mortgages and refinance. Visit me at 500 Baychester Avenue to hear more about our full range of personal and small business banking solutions. See you soon.